into the NBA front office show. It's August 12th, midweek edition, mid-August edition, but we still have like a pretty decent amount of stuff going on around the NBA. Make sure you do subscribe right here to the channel. If you're over on the podcast side, Apple Podcast, Spotify, wherever you listen to podcasts, follow us there as well. And if you wouldn't mind, give us that 5-star rating and review. I'm Trevor Lane, joined by Keith Smith. Keith, it's August. I am missing NBA basketball very badly. We've talked about it before, but man, I am at the point where I'm going down the rabbit hole just about every night, looking through all these old highlights and all kinds of stuff because I miss the NBA, man. This is killing me.
I was pulling clips over the weekend and at the start this week for a little project I'm going to do over on the basketball bulletin. It's like new faces and new places. Mm-hmm. And I wanted to pull some clips to show like, this is how this guy could be used with this new team. So I'm pretty excited about that, but yeah, it does become like after a while, it's like, man, like I just want to watch like new NBA games. Like I want to watch like some new stuff, but it is what it is. Can you hear the dog panting?
I can't.
Okay. Well, that's good. He's been like defending the house here from everything that's been going on. One neighbor on one side is getting his pool deck refinished, and the neighbors behind us are having their house painted. So like that takes a lot of work to defend from these evildoers that are on our doorstep here. So
that's the way dogs think.
He got himself all worked up. We like to say it's like Lion King. Everything the light touches is his kingdom. He loses his mind over it.
He's like, you guys are yelling at me to stop barking. Do you know how many times I've saved your life?
Right.
Do you know how many times I've kept the villainous Amazon delivery guy away from our home? I have saved this family, and you do not appreciate me enough.
And it's funny because he should love the Amazon guy because that's who brings us food. But who knows?
He just needs to make that connection. All right, let's get into some NBA news here. We've got plenty of stuff going on. By the way, let's just mention this real quick off the top. The NBA schedule release, we've already seen some games start to trickle out. We know the Christmas Day games. We know the opening night games. The MLK Day games are now coming out. The full schedule release will be soon, and I believe it's tomorrow. So we will take a look this week at like some of the top games. We'll make a list of the top games that we're excited to see and all that, but just be aware, full schedules are going to be coming out. And it's always an exciting time of year to get to see here. And it makes it maybe that much more difficult to wait.
I apologize.
For the regular season.
I did misread the NBA's tweet. So tomorrow is the NBA Cup schedule.
The Cup schedule.
Full schedule is Thursday.
So it's there. I'll tell you what, I don't really like that they're doing it this way.
Yeah,
I would just release the schedule. I don't know about like
I would prefer that, but it's fine. Let them have their fun, and they want the new partners to have their little.
This is their day in the news cycle.
Exactly.
Yeah, all of that. Yeah. It makes sense. I look. It's August. I can't complain too much about the schedule. I'm excited for the schedule to come out. So the full thing comes out Thursday. We'll have the NBA Cup games tomorrow. We've seen a few games already come out, but just be aware the schedule's coming. We'll go through it. We'll take a look at some of the big marquee matchups that we're excited for, and we'll talk all about that later on the week. But just be on the lookout for it. Regardless of who your team is, you'll get a good look at the full schedule. You can start planning things out. And that's really, for our purposes, where I really start to look ahead. It's like plotting, okay, what I got to make sure I can catch this game on this night, or maybe I want to go to a game and go catch a game in person. It's being able to fully break down the schedule on that level too, that I just can't wait for.
Yeah, now that I am fully removed from covering a team day to day, I am planning to go to more games in person here in Orlando, because you know how it is. You just you want to go, but then it's like, I'm going to miss a game, or I'm going to miss other stuff and all that. So that's my hope, is to go to more Magic games, and because I love like live basketball, like right in front of it. It's one of my favorite things. And so, yeah, I'm pretty excited. So it'll be fun. And like you said, then it feels real, and you can really get planning. Those wondering, though, the kind of key dates we know: Tuesday, October 21st, that's opening night. And the end of the season is, I believe it was April 12th, is the final day of the season. we don't have it confirmed, but I believe they'll probably do what they've done the last couple years, which is everybody plays on that final day. Just because in that way you can't really do the playoff shenanigans or any of that stuff, or can't do them quite as easily, I guess, is the best way to put it. So, and Christmas is out there, MLK is out there. There's a handful of others out there already. So
there it is.
Yeah, that's a key page right
We
there.
were just talking about it before. I was like, don't tell me, because you and I were joking before we started recording about how many tabs we both have open right this moment. I'm like, there's no way that out of the 50 billion tabs I've got open right now, I closed that one out. It just took me a moment to find it.
Right. Yeah, and we know the international games. Just fun aside, the Magic and Heat co-announced they're going to play a preseason game in Puerto Rico this year, which I think is pretty cool. That should be kind of fun. So, that's a pretty big market for both Orlando and Miami. To a lot of related, lot of Puerto Rican fans of the Florida teams there, which is really cool. So I think it's going to be a lot of fun. Again, all the rest of preseason schedules are starting to piece together and come out as well. So I spent a little bit of time this morning kind of plugging stuff into the calendar for what we know. But yeah, I love when the full thing comes out and then I can sit down and really try to map it out and plot it out and see who's coming through Orlando, especially the West teams that only come through once per year. So that'll be kind of fun.
We also have games coming up in Berlin and in London. I want to say that this season, not this year, because it'll be in 2026. But still, we've got the Magic against the Grizzlies in Berlin, and then the Magic versus the Grizzlies again in London. That'll be exciting. Keith, what do you think? Should we take the front office show on the road?
Oh man, let's go! I'm in.
Go a little European vacation.
Yeah. Big Ben Parliament. Big Ben.
Parliament. There we go. Let's go. Let's make it happen.
I'll let you drive though. I've done that twice already in my life, so I don't need to drive on the wrong side of the road again.
I've done it once so far in a golf cart though, and I think that's a little bit different experience. So
yeah, I was fine with the actual driving. It was the turning.
The turns.
That's where that took a little while to get down.
Yeah, that's the tough part. All right. Well, look, the schedule, it's coming. An exciting time. Always a landmark date for the NBA offseason, mid-August, when we get the full schedule to come out. It gives us some definitive dates to look forward to. So just be on the lookout for that. Let's get into real quick the update on the restricted free agents, because, the Fantastic Four, Quentin Grimes, Cam Thomas, Jonathan Kuminga, and Josh Giddey, they are still sitting out there right now, still in staring contests with their incumbent teams. There's a report going around today that Jonathan Kuminga and the Warriors haven't talked in a while. I don't know, maybe he left them on red or where that's going, but right now it seems like everything is still at a standstill. But when should we see movement on these parts? Because I think we've talked a lot about this, and NBA fans are getting a little restless with these staring contests. And I would have to imagine, to some degree, Al Horford, DeAnthony Melton, some of these other guys are probably getting a little sick of it too.
Yeah, I mean, when should we see movement? A month ago? Like in reality?
It should already happen.
Yeah, I really don't know. I am really somewhat surprised. No, not that there's anybody out there, because that part doesn't really surprise me anymore. That makes we see that every year. Somebody lingers longer than what we would think, but that there's 4 guys. But the Bulls are that is my wife and daughter returning home, not anybody trying to attack the home.
He just saved your life again.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, he's got it covered. The Bulls are being very how do I put this? Very, I think smart. Cautious. Yeah, deliberate, cautious, smart to not just rush into a contract with Giddey. They are very much holding the line. It sounds like at $20 million a year. It sounds like Giddey wants 30. Now that shouldn't be so much that you would think just eventually all right, split it the difference and go to 25 and be done. But it sounds like they are both pretty locked in on their sides. I think the Nets realize the Bulls realize no one else is going after Giddey at this point. Giddey's not going to take so much less. It's not holding Chicago up from doing anything. So that one, and Giddey's, they think like, yeah, I'm good. I'm going to end up there anyway. So no issue on my end. So I think we're really in a spot with the Bulls and Giddey where this one I don't mind if it takes a little bit longer.
Sure.
The Cam Thomas one, they're not holding the Nets up because the Nets would prefer to wait anyway because they want to use cap space. But that one's getting a little, sounds like contentious now. It sounds like Cam Thomas is not super thrilled with the approach there. And then you have
hang on before we move on off of this one. I does the Nets need to hit the salary floor factor into this at all with Cam Thomas?
A little bit. They'll get there one way or the other. So let's put that, call it 11.5 million on the books for Williams and
Day'Ron
and Day'Ron Sharpe.
Yeah.
That'd put them about 7 million under the floor. So they're going to get there one way or another. Even if that is one other contract from a team, they are still sitting on, because Williams and Sharpe are not factored in because those are just agreed to contracts. They're still sitting on $28 million in cap space. So they're, and I think that's smart on their part too, because let's say something does happen with Kuminga where it's a sign and trade, but it's complicated because of the base year compensation stuff and the matching salaries on each side. The Nets are just going to be like, hand up, hey, how do we help here? Like, give us someone, either someone of value or give us someone with a draft pick and we'll make it happen. So I think that is, one direction we could see this going. But yeah, I think they're being very, very smart with the way they're approaching this. Of no reason to rush it. I think Jake Fisher was the most recent. Others have said it as well. Cam Thomas seems the most likely to sign the qualifying offer just because it seems like they're miles apart. There was a report today that he wants upwards of 30 to 40 million a year.
I saw that.
Not
There's
happening.
no way
like,
40 million. Like even 30 million is crazy.
Yeah. Well, and it's funny too, because his max is only 38.6 anyway. So we're certainly not getting a 40. I mean, I guess 40 million average.
But yeah,
get to, but like, come on, like that's not happening. Like, and so and now on Cam Thomas's side, I think he's being smart, same as Jonathan Kuminga, saying, I'm not doing a 2-year deal with a team option that gives the team full control.
Yeah, especially if they're being asked to waive their implied no trade.
Exactly. Waive that. And I'm getting, far less money than I could have got otherwise. I think for Cam Thomas, sign your qualifying offer, bet on yourself and see where it goes. It is a little bit of an awkward spot because then if you're the Nets, if it's like, well, you're not really part of the future, why are we going to make sure to give you all the playing time and the greenest of green lights like you've had if you're not going to be committed here long term? But the team's not exactly committing to him long term either. So I don't really have a huge issue if this one continues to take a while to play out.
And if he really feels like, hey, I am worth 38.6, let's call it 40 million bucks, he's going to have to prove that because there's no NBA team right now that's going to say, yes, we agree. He's worth that kind of money. I think he has to prove that he's a true starter and not a sixth man scorer off the bench. And I understand why he would want to prove that, I also understand why he would think that he is a true starter and not a six-man scorer off the bench. And it is financially much more lucrative if you are a true locked-in starter. But I don't know that the rest of the NBA believes that. I think there are plenty of teams that will believe that Jonathan Kuminga is a starter, of course. Josh Giddey is a starter, of course, with the Bulls. I don't think that's true of Cam Thomas. I think he takes the qualifying offer and goes to try to prove to teams what he can do and then hits free agency next summer. And if he is the player he seems to think he is, then he shoots up the board as one of the more interesting free agents in 2026.
Yeah, big time, because he'd be unrestricted and he'd be ready to go. One thing I do want to say, too, if we go that direction, prove it, but prove it in the right way. That doesn't mean you need to come out and take 30 shots a night or take a shot per minute when you're on the floor and just gun for points. I thought it was a brief period last year because he had the injuries, and then, quite frankly, the Nets were like, we're not trying to win any more games, so we're not even going to bring him back. But I thought in the what was it, 23 games? I think he played 25 games, 23 starts last year. I thought Cam Thomas showed a much improved playmaking last year, meaning not just his own scoring, but setting up others, doing things that just round him out as a guard. And that's really good to see there. So, yeah, but I'm with you. If you're going to bet on yourself, I have absolutely no issue with that. I think that's great. Let's go. Let's do it. But you got to do it in the right way. We can't be doing it in a way where it is, I'm just going to come out and, let's go and getting shots up left and right, because that's not really going to be the right way. And honestly, the Nets will lose patience with that and probably won't play him because they've got a lot of other guys that they want to get looks at this year.
Yeah, exactly. Okay. Any final thoughts before we move on from the restricted free agent?
Yeah, I think the Kuminga one is just, I mean, we don't need to rehash the whole things with him. We kind of know what's going on there. I thought the note from about Al Horford, that Horford hasn't ruled out just retiring. Is interesting too, because
I took that to mean it's either the Warriors or retirement for Al Horford. And if the Warriors can't get things figured out, then he's probably just going to say, all right, I'm done.
Yeah, and I think at this point, unless Boston comes up with some major salary shedding move where they can say, hey, we're going to give you 8, 9, 10 million for next season, and we'll tack on a second year that we figure out later or whatever. I think that could maybe sway him to say, hey, don't, because by all accounts, he doesn't really want to leave Boston, but he's looking at him like, look, I'm not going to play for the minimum, and they're not a contender. So I'll go to the Warriors, probably start there, play a big role on a really good team. So I think that's where that could go. But it is interesting, and this tells me too, there's probably somewhat of a clock on this for him, because it all sounds well and good to say these things about like, well, just do whatever, you're a millionaire. We've talked about it before in the show, but like, he's got a family, his kids have school. Like, I don't think they really want to be in a position where it is, all right, Dad, you're going to school on the East Coast and Dad's playing on the West Coast. And I mean, we heard Chris Paul talk about how hard that was on him and his family last year. So I think they just want to be in a spot where they need to be like, if you're the Warriors, there is going to be a drop dead point on this for Horford. And then the other guys, if they're going to be more minimum guys, there's always a chance somebody swoops in and says, all right, we didn't do anything else. Hey, D'Anthony Melton, we really need a guard. You want to come here for, $5 million instead of the 2.5 you'd make from the Warriors. So that's just tells me, like, I think it's all okay. I think it's probably lined up, but if this drags out too long and too close to the start of camp, I think guys may start to get a little impatient.
Yeah, right. And then we've got we got Quentin Grimes, but the Jonathan Kuminga situation, it's very messy. It's so messy because it's different. I differentiate it like this because I mean, we can argue over whether or not how much the Nets really want Cam Thomas, but I think the other three teams legit want those players. Like Quentin Grimes, the 76ers want him back. The Chicago Bulls want Josh Giddey back. The Warriors just don't want to lose Kuminga for nothing. I don't know that they necessarily, I think there are, it's been reported that there are those within the Warriors organization that really like Jonathan Kuminga and want to keep him, but that's not widespread. And I think there is an element to this where the Warriors look at Jonathan Kuminga and say, well, if we could turn him into something else, that would probably be better for everybody involved. And so that's where this is a different situation than the other ones, where Jonathan Kuminga doesn't really want to be a Warrior. I don't think wholeheartedly the Warriors want Jonathan Kuminga. They don't want to lose him for nothing. They don't want to lose the asset for nothing. They're trying to make sure that doesn't happen. He wants to get paid, but both parties know that it's in their best interest to part ways, whether that's now at the trade deadline, wherever. And I think that complicates that whole situation.
Yeah, I completely agree. It's just gotten messy. I mean, that's really, really what it comes down to. But they'll, I want to say they'll get it all figured out, but it is the middle of August and we're like, it hasn't been yet. So we're all kind of waiting. And I did a Ian Begley show today, the putback. And I said, it used to be like, by the time we get to this point, it was like, all right, guys, we'll see you for media day. And like, we were pretty much done for the next month and a half. It's not that way anymore. This has really turned into a 12-month league where stuff kind of drags out and hangs on every year now.
Yeah, It's what's happening around the league, and this is the times they are a changing. The way the whole league operates, it's certainly shifting. Anything
I'd
on
sing, but every time we do that, we get in trouble by our partners here. So we won't do that today.
No, we won't do that, and we won't subject our fans to that either.
Oh, come on
now. Quentin Grimes, he's staying with Philly. He's got to, right?
Yeah. Again, another one where maybe that leads to him taking the qualifying offer. I honestly am kind of okay if some of these guys do just on the qualifying offer, because that gives us some better free agents on the board next summer, unrestricted free agents. But we'll see. I mean, the talk there seems like it's again, it's kind of like that's more like Giddy is, where it's we want him, he wants to be here, but Philly's also looking at it and saying we have VJ Edgecombe, we have Tyrese Maxey, we have Jared McCain. How much do we want to invest in one more guard, knowing you can maybe play three of those guys together? You're not going to be in moments where you play all four together, and that just ends up being that's a lot of money locked up in one position, or one position group on the roster, because Grimes can play up a little, Edgecombe can probably play up a little, but those are mostly 2-point guards and 2 shooting guards, and that gets a little tough.
Yeah. It does get tricky when you're looking at all that together, but man, I mean, I can't even look at the salary sheet for Philly without going, oh my God, Joel Embiid and Paul George, like what?
Yep. $100 million.
That's a lot. I'm at a point where I think, this is Philly's in a spot where I feel like all they have to do is just get through the season, hit the playoffs, and hope that Embiid and George are healthy for the playoffs. And that's all they can do, because I don't think they can even count on these guys playing 50 games during the season.
Yeah, I'm not going to argue with you there.
It sucks.
Can I do a little spoiler for something we're gonna do maybe later this week, maybe next week? So we're gonna do like our tiers, like where we have the teams. So in the East, my tiers were the contenders. That's Cleveland and New York. Then, and I'm not going to tell you all the teams in every tier, but my second tier was teams that are in fight for the home court advantage, and I had 4 teams in there. So I'm at 6 East teams, and then my third tier was just the Sixers, because I don't know what to do with them.
What are they?
Yeah, because if you told me Embiid and George played 65 games each, all right, they're a playoff team. They're probably in the mix for a home court advantage. Like, I don't really have any doubt of that. But I have no faith that that's going to happen. I mean, these guys are, all reports are they're both starting the season not fully ready to go. So if that's going to be where we are, then I'm like, I don't know, maybe they're in the lottery again. And at that point, something has to give. You can't be a lottery team again with 2 guys that are on the books for over $100 million for each of the next 3 seasons. Like, something's going to have to happen there where you got to make some decisions.
If the 76ers were, Adam Silver calls them up and says, hey, I've got the magic wand here. I'm going to give you a one-time amnesty clause here. Would they use it? And which player would they use it on?
Yeah, it's probably, people might think this is a little crazy because his injuries seem to be less severe and he makes less money, but I think they'd use it on Paul George.
Yeah.
And just go down with the ship with Embiid and say, this is our guy, right? We tied everything to him for more than a decade now. We're gonna see it out and go that way, because just getting George off the books, I mean, that already puts you in the place. Next year, you'd be a cap space team, and you'd be able to start to figure other things out, and I think you go. But I think their first thing would be, what do you do when the genie gives you 3 wishes? Like, can I wish for more wishes? Like, can we wish for 2 amnesty clauses?
Can we have 2,
that'd
please?
be something. Yeah, right.
Okay, let's jump over here now. Keith, your Boston Celtics have done a tremendous job moving salary off of their books this summer. They've made some impressive, I know not all Celtics fans have been super thrilled with the returns, but I do think when we look at the overall, movements that they've made and the overall salary they've been able to clear and the financial situation they put themselves in, it's been fairly impressive. But now we got news. Wyc Grousbeck will indeed be on the way out, will not be staying in that governor role for the team. Does this come as a surprise after the sale of the team, or were you kind of expecting this? And what does this mean for the Celtics moving forward?
Yeah, it really doesn't surprise me at all. And I was a little surprised some of the reaction within like Celtics folks on Twitter who felt like it was like, oh my gosh, like I can't believe this is how it's going down. And they're like, but they had agreed to this. Here's my thing. Bill Chisholm paid like billions of dollars to own the
Yeah.
team. Like it's the same thing that happened with the Mavericks. It's the same thing that happened. Or like I eventually think this is yeah. And I think this is probably eventually. I don't know that the Lakers thing plays out the way it's written up right now. It wouldn't surprise me. No, I do think that one's slightly different because I think Mark Walter is very okay with like I just write checks and let smart people run stuff and let them do their thing. But I don't know. When you pay billions of dollars, I think you want to kind of have real final say on issues with the team. But it's not. Everybody's like, well, wouldn't he just still have to approve trades and whatnot anyway? Yeah, that is absolutely true. But the other thing is, it's things like Bill Chisholm wants to be the one who's sitting in when they're talking about expansion or when they're talking about other things. If he's going to own the team, he wants to be making the decisions, not having Wyc Grousbeck, who is going to be out in 2028 anyway. So this just, to me, I'm not surprised. I mean, this, if I'm ever in a position to buy a team, I'm not doing this whole, like, let's do a transit. Nope. I own the team. That's it. I make the decisions now.
And really, we're not far off. A few more super chats, and we're right there. Next team that comes up for sale, NBA front office show is going to be making that
few billion more, and we'll be okay.
No problem. No problem.
That's all it takes, guys. Yeah,
we can totally handle that.
I'll say this too, because people were like, a bunch of people were like, "You worried about this guy? He's a private equity guy. Like, is his background? What does it mean?" My thing is, we don't know, other than the reporting has been from the beginning that he grew up in Boston. He's a lifelong Celtics fan. And my thing is, I think that's always good from the standpoint of, all right, well, then they understand what the team means to the area and to the fan base. But all I want from an owner, and this is across the board in all professional sports, write really big checks, hire smart people, and then stay out of the way. Like, and you know what? And here's what you get given at the end. If it all goes well, you get handed the trophy first, even though all you did was write those really big checks. That's what part you play. I don't like owners who are overly involved. I don't like owners who are, then it's like, we want to win a championship, but we can't ever pay the luxury tax. Like, come on, these are all toys for these guys. Like, just write really big checks and then get out of the way.
When we're looking at ownership and what an owner can do and what they should do, I always go back on. We've talked about it before on the show. I wish I could remember who said it, but said, whenever there's a change in power, their number one piece of advice would be to take 18 months and do nothing, or something like that. A year, 18 months, 2 years, something, and do nothing. Just look, because, and I think we saw it with the Suns, where Matt Ishbia came in and did a bunch of stuff. Went, cool, I've got all the money. I bought the team.
Yeah,
I want to tinker with stuff. I want
KD.
to make. Right. Yep. I want to change things. I'm gonna come in and throw money around. I'm gonna go get Kevin Durant. I don't care how the CBA is constructed. I want 3 stars on my team. I'm gonna go do that. And you can wind up making big mistakes that way. And so I would say that in terms of, yes, write checks, yes, hire smart basketball people, but also have patience. Have patience and let things settle, and don't come in and immediately start saying, I know better, especially if you're coming from an outside industry, because that can lead you down the path to ruin.
Yeah. And if Bill Chisholm listens to Brad Stevens in the Celtics front office,
they'll be fine.
That's my biggest thing. They've done a really good job so far. They've had misses. Show me the front office that hasn't. And even Sam Presti admits he has misses left and right. And some of them have been in the draft, but that's why sometimes you have 100 draft picks, because then the misses don't feel it's hurtful when you make them. But I have no worries if they just let Brad Stevens, Mike Zarin, and crew do their thing with the front office and go from there.
All right, let's move on here to what do we have next? Oh, Trae Young. No extension right now for Trae
Mm-hmm.
Young. Um, is this a risk for the Atlanta Hawks? This feels risky to me. I think they've done a good job building out this team, but this is the team that's really built around Trae Young. Now, that doesn't mean they can't pivot and build it around someone else. And if you're Trae, is this necessarily a bad thing, particularly if all NBA is maybe a realistic possibility for him?
Yeah, and I know we talked about this
We
last
did.
week because if
Right.
anybody's like, wait, you guys are going back to this well again. The reason why is there was actually more reporting this
Mm-hmm.
weekend. Jake Fisher had some, then ESPN had some, whereas basically like neither side seems in an overly big rush to get this done. And I think that's important to note here because that means that maybe they are on the same page. Maybe it's Trae Young's not in a big rush because the Hawks are like, we'll give you 35 million a year. And he's like, nope, not doing it. Maybe the
Mm-hmm.
Hawks are in no rush because Trae Young's like, give me the max or that's it. I don't want to discuss anything. But and they're like, we don't know if we're there. But yeah, your point of, yeah, why not? Wait, if you make all NBA this year, great. Now you're eligible. Either you can opt out and do the designated veteran contract, or you could opt out and do the extension before the year wraps up. So
Mm-hmm.
either way, Trae Young, I don't know how badly things would have to go for like his value to completely tank outside of like a career-ending injury, and that seems pretty unlikely. So I think we're in a spot where I don't really mind either side waiting it out here. I'm a little nervous for the Hawks, but we talked
Yeah.
about it. They've built up some depth of guys who can play, and if they feel like okay, the way forward is not to pay Trae Young or not to pay him a ton of money, then all right, we're gonna find out. Right, that's all we can do is find out. Are you right or wrong?
Let's say Trae has a season relatively equal to what he did last year. And that through injuries around the NBA or the Hawks' overall rise in the standings or whatever combination of things happen, he winds up making all NBA. And he says, I made all NBA. I won all the years and all the money. What do you do if you're Atlanta? Do you say, no, thank you? We'll
Yeah,
go look elsewhere and we're okay with losing you? Do you sign that deal? Where do you go there?
yeah. I mean, at that point, you got to pay him, right?
Right?
Because if he makes all NBA, and that probably means that you're pretty good team, and then you just I think at that point you pay him and you figure out the rest later, right? You
Yeah.
just kind of let it sort through, and so a couple people very fairly after we talked about this when we talked about it last week said he was really inefficient last year, and he had one of his worst shooting season, was worst shooting season ever
Mm-hmm.
from the field, 41%, and one of his worst from three as well, 34%. He's kind of been in this weird every other year thing from three. I'm being better. But the thing was last year when Jalen Johnson went down, that was really his kind of second on ball creator
Yeah.
there. And there was no one really to make the game easier for him. So he took a lot of tough shots. There's a lot of the term that they use in the league, if people haven't heard it, there's a lot of grenades in his shot profile where
Sure.
you get thrown the ball with under 5 on the shot clock, and it's like
Here,
figure
go
it
make
out,
something
dude.
happen.
The one that I really like, look at the assist column. Every year he's averaged more assists.
Yep.
And I don't think there was a point in time, right, where Rajon Rondo was getting like really crappy assists because they were almost to the detriment of the team. Where it's like, dude, you're passing up layups to try to set somebody up. Like, don't do that.
Right.
I don't think that's where Trae Young is. I think these are like legit assists, and to average 11.6 assists per game last year, playing 76 games on a team that was fighting to try to make the postseason all year and was pretty young and missing a lot of other guys. I'm not going to say I don't care about 41% shooting because that's pretty rough.
Yeah.
But that's pretty good. And we're in 3 consecutive years too of taking less shots overall than the year before. So I think this is a guy who is starting to morph a little bit to be, all right, it doesn't need to be the Trae Young show. Let's get better talent around. I'm going to trust them. I'm going to empower them. I'm going to set them up. So I would, do what they need to do to try to keep him within reason. If you can get him below a max, awesome. That's great. But I wouldn't fool around here too much if I'm Atlanta.
No. And De'Aaron Fox just got a max.
Yeah.
So
And if I'm
Trae's
Trae
camp,
Young, that's
yeah,
a right
that's
there.
it.
That's the bar. Yep.
You're just going to go, hey, if Fox
Yep.
got the max, I get the max.
Yep.
And, the Hawks can maybe argue. But,
Yep.
all right,
Yeah,
let's
when
go.
Luka gets a max, it's like, all right, well, that's Luka.
Sure,
He's
it's
one of the
Luka.
best players in the league. But yeah, De'Aaron Fox gets a max, and look around at some of the rookies who are getting, or not rookies, but rookie scale guys that they're just still kind of giving out max deals to. If I'm Trae Young, I'm going to hold firm because he's also, he's going to be 27 this year. Like, this is not a guy who is, he's still got plenty left in the tank. He's going to be good all the way through his next contract, no matter what. The one after that, all right, then maybe that gets a little more shaky. But now you're talking a fourth contract. And by the time you get to a fourth contract, it's probably either not going to be very good or the guy is awesome, right? That's just the way that kind of goes.
Right. Let's jump over to another guard, slightly older, but talented. should be on a team somewhere.
Yes.
Russell Westbrook and still being linked to the Sacramento Kings, but this is not done to this point. I'm worried about the Kings. I'm worried about, yep. I like Russell Westbrook just fine, right? Like I think that he was actually better than I would have expected with Denver. I thought he did some really good things last season. Did he still do some of the things that he gets criticized for? Yes. But I thought he had a pretty good season for Denver. I hate his fit in Sacramento. They have too many guys where their base skill set is putting the ball in the basket.
Yep.
I understand they want another ball handler and not particularly efficiently. And I understand they want another ball handler that's not Dennis Schroeder. But this Kings roster, like I want this to happen. I've talked about it. I want this to happen for the sake of chaos, but I'm really concerned about what this team's going to look like. Even if I do think Russell Westbrook maybe gets a little too much criticism, I don't see the fit here. They've got one Keon Ellis, and I think they need like 4 more of him rather than another scorer.
Yeah. And they need somebody who's like a real power forward. Yeah. I'm still holding into every bit of stock I have in Keegan Murray, and I'm not giving it up and snapping up all the rest I can everywhere else. I still think Keegan Murray's really good, but he's not really a 4. I think he is a real 3. I think is where he should be. And then the DeRozan Levine fit is weird. Like I was reading a thing over the weekend that was like, the Kings really looked at the Bulls and were like, yeah, let's be that. And it's like, but why? Like, why is that, the direction you wanted to go? And my thing is, to your point is, all right, Schroeder's best skill, having the ball in his hands. Levine, DeRozan, Monk, Westbrook, all having the ball in their hands, while also playing with, in my opinion, the second best passing center in the league in Sabonis. Like, what are we doing? It just feels like this roster almost kind of screams the guy in your fantasy league who's just like, oh, I know that name, I'm going to pick him. I know that name, I'm going to get him. I'm going to get that guy. And then it's like, you didn't build a very good team, because that's the thing I'm worried about. I think every player on the Kings has like real value in the right situation. Sure. I just think collectively this is a mess. And I was very close. Again, I'll spoil a little bit of the tier work to just saying, forget it. They're a non-playoff team, and I'm just going to pull it. I just feel like there could be a trade in there still that rebalances things and gets them there. Yes, there absolutely needs to be. So that's why I left them in the mix of teams that are fighting around the play-in. But I can't see, especially in the West, I just can't see them being any higher than that.
I talked about this a little bit yesterday on the Basketball Bulletin YouTube channel, but I look at the Phoenix Suns and the Sacramento Kings in a similar way, but the Suns have an excuse for it. The Suns just made big moves this summer. I expect there to be disarray on their team. Sure. I expect it to not all fit perfectly. Sacramento made their big move in the season last year. They've had more time to pivot, more time to plan, to figure this out, to find a way to put the pieces together, and they still haven't done it. So I'm willing to give the Suns more leeway as they're trying to, and understand that moves are coming for Phoenix. I think, and I don't know if it'll be right now or if they go into the season with this roster as is, but ultimately this is not the final version of their roster. And the same should be true of the Sacramento Kings. They just haven't done it yet. And it's the more we come to the realization that this could indeed be the roster for the season, the lower I'm going to drop them in my rankings. Not that these players, as you said, not that these guys are bad, but they're just not great fits together. There's too many guys who are a sixth man scorer in their kind of ultimate role on a good team. And I don't think adding Russell Westbrook is going to necessarily change that. I do think it's interesting too. If the word is right now that Russ would come off the bench, how does he feel about that? It's one thing to come off the bench behind Jamal Murray. How does he feel about coming off the bench
contender
and on a title contender? How does he feel about coming off the bench behind Dennis Schroeder? That would be an interesting subplot to that development as well.
What happens, like, honestly, are there going to be nights where you just don't play him? Because you've already got Schroeder, Monk, and Levine. That's kind of your three main guys. And then you mentioned Keon Ellis is in that mix. He's the best defender of that group by a very wide margin. You have Devin Carter, who the Kings are still pretty high on and think can play. Where does he even fit? Like, and I just, if he is ready to do the Chris Paul, be like, I'm ready to be a backup, and some nights they're not going to call my number, great, let's go, then that's fine. I have no issue with that at all. But if it's like, no, I want to play and I want to play 25 to 30 minutes a night, I don't know. I mean, there's a reason why you're still on the market, even though at this point I think there's the acceptance of I'm a minimum player. So that's where, it's got you there. What is it? Father time comes for us all, right? Like, can still be a helpful player, but might not be every single night, especially on a team like this. Are there other places he could go and probably play more? Sure. Like, I think there are some teams where it'd be like, all right, yeah, we can get you in the mix more, but I don't know.
Keith, there was a season that I'm reminded of when Mike D'Antoni coached the Lakers. And it was not the entire season, but it was a stretch of games where Kobe shifted his role. And he said, okay, Mike D'Antoni's the coach. I'm going to be Steve Nash. I'm going to pass the ball. I'm going to set everybody up.
Yep.
I'm going to pass like crazy, and I'm going to shut off the scoring so much. I'm still going to score, but my focus is going to be on pass. I'm going to shift. And because it's Kobe, of course he could do that, and he just did it, and he was great. And ultimately he went back to scoring the ball and everything. But there was that stretch of games I'll never forget where he just started passing the ball. And he said, that's it. I'm going to be the point guard, and I'm going to run the show, and I'm going to get everybody else involved. I'm not saying Russell Westbrook can do that. I'm not saying Russ is Kobe, but you would need that kind of a mindset shift for this to work, where he would say, we've got a ton of scorers. I'm not going to focus on scoring the ball. He's actually not a bad passer. He's not a bad setup guy. His vision is not terrible. He sometimes throws some optimistic passes. So does Dennis Schroeder, frankly. But you would need Russell Westbrook to come into Sacramento and say, I'm not going to worry about scoring. I'm going to worry about getting the ball to Zach LaVine in the right spots. I'm going to worry about getting the ball to DeRozan in the right spots, to Sabonis in the right spots. And that is going to be my focal point. I'm going to shift the way that I view the game. That's what he would have to do in order for this to truly work, because that's what I think the Kings, one of the things that I think the Kings are missing is a true setup guy to get these guys the ball in the right positions. And Russ, I'm not going to completely dismiss the chance that he could do that. He would not be like a next level, like Trae Young is a different level passer than Russell Westbrook. But if, and it's a big if, he truly changes his mindset to, this is what this team needs right now, so this is what I'm going to do and focus on, that I think is the only path that I see to this actually working, if he goes ahead and signs there.
Yeah, I completely agree. I was just looking it up. So I think that was the 2012-13 season.
I believe so.
For Kobe, because that was the only, because the full season D'Antoni was there. He only played in 6 games.
Yeah.
Right. That was the year he tore his Achilles. So I didn't realize they went 45-37 and didn't make the playoffs that year.
That's the West, man.
Yeah, really, right? We got a minute here to have a little bit of fun. Let's test Trevor Lane's knowledge.
Oh no.
Let's see
my memory.
So that year, who were they had 5 fairly consistent starters. Can you name them?
That was the first year that D'Antoni was there.
Yep. Took over after a couple other coaches.
He took over from, and that was when they were looking at hiring Phil.
Yep. They had
And
Mike Brown, Bernie Bickerstaff, and then D'Antoni came in. 72 games. He coached them.
Bernie Bickerstaff and D'Antoni. So that was the Dwight year.
Yep.
Nash was hurt most of the year.
Yep. But he played 50 games, so
okay. He was there more than okay. So yep. so Nash, Kobe, Dwight, Powell got moved to the bench for Earl Clark at one point that season.
Powell and Earl Clark kind of split the power forward spot.
Right.
Kobe was the shooting guard. You know who the small forward was?
Who did they keep at the 3 that year? It was somebody. God. Was that? Did they bring MWP back that year and have him in the fold?
Guy.
Is that who was it? Was it Meta?
Yep, it was Meta World Peace.
It was Meta.
Yep. That was the that was his last year of his original Lakers run. Then he left and then came back for his final.
That's season. Right. And he came back and then he was the veteran on the bench and he was trying to teach Julius Randle being physical and all that kind of, I remember all that stuff. That was that team, man. Whew, those pieces they did not fit in the injuries.
Then the next year, let's just say it kind of did not go so hot.
Not
I mean,
so
which
not so good.
Kobe only plays 6 games. It's probably not going to go so well. Right. That roster is boy. That is we won't take the Lakers to the factory of sadness here, but
that was pretty rough.
All right, I'm going to ask you one question from that next year.
Oh no. Dude, I have repressed that year.
Who were the 2 guys that led the Lakers in assists per game that year?
God, was it like Lou Williams and Jeremy Lin or something like that?
Kendall Marshall?
Marshall.
Wait.
I forgot about it. Was I a year too early on Jeremy Lin?
You might have been. Yeah,
I think I was a year or two too early. Because they ultimately it couldn't be Lou Williams and Jeremy Lin because I think they turned Lou Williams into Jeremy Lin.
Jeremy Lin was the next year.
Right. Kendall Marshall, man, the crafty left-hand game, and Steve Blake. Yep. You know what? Steve Blake is one of those guys that would be pretty good in today's NBA, just as being a defensive pest and all of that. Yep. Like if he came along 10 years later, he probably has an even better career. Yeah.
Right? Sure. A little smaller than Alex Caruso, but it'd be tough.
Yep.
So, well, there it is.
All right. God, that was back in the days of the sleeved jerseys and all that.
Oh, man. Those disasters?
So bad.
Why were they all gray?
They were so bad. The Lakers had a black one with yellow stripes on the side. But there were so many that were bad. The Steph one and everything. And players.
The Celtics had a gray and green one. And it was horrendous.
Was that the same year they changed the ball too? And they were using that synthetic ball.
Yeah,
I remember Nash complaining about
that all happened, but yeah, guys were saying their fingers were getting all cut up and stuff. Which, if you played a lot on like the playground, that's definitely true.
Yep. Yep. All right, everybody. Well, there's some peak August NBA content for you right there. But we appreciate all of you for joining. Please make sure you do subscribe to the channel if you haven't. Followed us over on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you listen to podcasts just yet. Make sure that you do. We will be back. Can't say it's going to be tomorrow. Depends on how the news cycle is and all that kind of stuff. But we will be back this week.
On Friday.
Definitely Friday for sure for Front Office Friday. If anything else is going on, of course, we'll jump back in this week as well. But thank you, everybody, for joining the show. Till next time. See ya and stay safe.